So hi, I'm Martha Pusey and I'm head of Sage House.
Hi, I'm Louisa. I'm a Wayfinder and my pronouns are she and her.
Hello, I'm Jackie Pond and I'm a wayfinder at Sage House, and this is my wayfinding colleague Honey Pond.
Hello, honey.
Hi, my name's Cassie Owen and I'm a wayfinder and my pronouns are she and her.
So we thought that today on Time to Talk Day, we would take the opportunity to talk a little bit about how our roles impact on our lives and how potentially that could affect our mental health. So working with our customers, we do hear some very harrowing stories. Generally, things through COVID have been really difficult for some of our customers, and particularly now we're starting to find that quite a lot of our customers are passing away. So it can be really difficult for us emotionally. As a team, I would say we are really strong, and we have each other, we rely on each other, and we talk and we share things all the time. And I think that is probably one of the most important things for me to help my mental health, is just to talk about things. I potentially can do things in a very silly way. I know I have some really childish moments, but it's those kind of moments that really help me get through, when we do things like a bit of dressing up, or we have a bit of a sing and a dance on a Friday afternoon. At the moment, Louisa and I and Isla, we just dance around the cafe because there's nobody else there. But those are the things that help me get through my week. So I don't know, I'll just open it up to my team, so to the wonderful Wayfinders here at Sage House. So what sort of things, stories might you hear that are happening to our carers, and what kind of impact are they having on you? I'm going to go to Cassie, I think, first.
I think it's okay. I think the isolation, and especially when it's a much older couple who have no children, no sort of support around them, and a bit of a feeling of failure from the carer, it's heartbreaking to hear, because they're doing such a phenomenal job. It breaks your heart, and the fact that they feel very isolated. What's the point in living? And I think that really does, again, break your heart. And it's by being with that person to go through the highs and the lows. The lows hit me, and I'm sure they hit all of you guys. It can be very emotional, and holding that in and being that professional support, and have a real impact. And then once you've got off the phone, again, it's amazing to have my colleagues, because I can, when I'm in the office, put my head round and just have either a bit of a cry just to get it out of the system, or just have a random giggle, like you said. Makes huge differences for me.
Thanks, Cassie. Louisa, how about you?
Yes, I mean, I had a call recently from a client that for 15 minutes just cried on the phone. And I find it quite hard not to cry with her and just to stay strong. And I felt quite a little bit helpless, because I thought, how can I guide her through this? But actually, she just needed to offload, because she doesn't have anybody else to. And I think what's nice about it is that we are able to speak to each other. So I would phone Jackie, or I'll speak to you, Martha, or Cassie, and, just check in. Did I do things right? Could I have done things differently? And I totally embrace Dawn's stuff on a Friday. I really need that. So, yeah.
Everybody needs a bit of Dawn Gracie in their life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Louisa. Jackie?
I think for me, I realised more in this lockdown than before that in my role as a wayfinder, I feel very much I'm a fix-it. I like to fix things. I don't mean obviously the overall diagnosis of dementia, but when people tell us what's going on in their lives and what's happening, I can always come up with some sort of solution or suggestion or a tip or advice or some practical help. This time around, and particularly in the last week or so, I feel totally powerless. I feel like I can't offer anything, and I'm finding it quite upsetting. But then I'm told at the end of a call, Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I just think I haven't actually done anything, and perhaps probably should appreciate more. Today is about time to talk, and yeah, I'm always saying it's just so important to talk, and I'm here to listen, but then I'm not. This demonstrates actually that is all we can do at the moment. There's very little else. Because I live on my own, I've felt a bit isolated, but I've found that I like being with my team a lot more than, and I value them more perhaps than I have done before. And the humour we share, I think we all share the same type of sense of humour, which is great. Yeah, it's just really, really tough sometimes to listen to people. There's a lot more conversation about death, dying, and the hopelessness that people feel. It's much harder when you can't say, come into Sage House, have a chat, or any of those things at the moment.
Oh, I agree. I think that's one of the things that I find the hardest. I very much like to be around people that I care for. You know, I like to be very hands-on. You know, that's my style of care. And to not have people around me, I find really, really difficult, because it's sometimes for somebody, it's just that real gentle touch on the shoulder of reassurance. That's all that person needs, just to know that you're there, that you're thinking about them. You know, or perhaps even just a bit of a hug. Sometimes that's all some of our carers need, just to get through. And there was one gentleman in particular who used to bring in his wife before lockdown, who every day when he would come in, I'd say, oh, hi, how are you? And he'd say, I'm fine, thank you. And I'd say, okay, but how are you? And he'd say, yeah, I'm okay. And probably after a few months of doing this silly game routine that we were doing of, hi, how are you? Fine, yes, but hi, how are you? One day he turned around to me and he said, why do you ask me twice how I am? I said, because I know you're not okay, but I'm just waiting for you to tell me. And I'm giving you that opportunity by asking you twice, because I do genuinely care. I want to know how you are. And from that day on, I only had to ask him once. You know, if he was having a bad day, he would tell me he was having a bad day. And I think it's so important for anybody just that they know that somebody's listening, and to offer them that opportunity to say something, because it's all very easy, I think, for all of us just to go through our daily lives just by saying, yes, I'm fine. But actually, it's okay not to be fine. I think that's something I'd say to carers a lot of the time as well, that it is okay not to be fine, and that's okay, because that's what we're here for.
I think also for carers to take time for themselves. They get, especially if it's just themselves and their loved one with dementia, it's so focused, their life is so focused on the other person, they sometimes neglect themselves. I think it's really important to not just say, you know, it's okay to not be okay, but to take 5 minutes to practice, I don't know, having a shower and taking your time and enjoying that 5 minutes of peace, and to relax and think about yourself is something I think a lot of people that I support struggle with. And building that rapport, it's not something that comes straight away. Some of the customers I've taken over from Amy, they've gotten used to her style and how she, you know, working with her. So that's been really interesting. One of the gentlemen that I support, I rang to start with and explained, I'm just sort of your new Wayfinder. Didn't want to talk to me the first few times, and now I come off the phone. But so it's really important to build up that rapport and having that consistency and that person there all the time. Oh, okay, what's gone on? What can I help you with? Yeah.
I don't know about everyone else, but I think I've worked in care from the age of 15, so over 25, 26 years now. And I think I've adapted a style of resilience when it comes to dealing with particularly difficult situations. And I very much learned to compartmentalize things. So I'll put something into a box and I know that that's okay. I've kind of dealt with that situation. But I know as well, personally, I've learned the hard way that sometimes that isn't the way of dealing with things. And I can remember when my grandma died, being told by a member of my family that I seemed really disconnected from what was going on, and why wasn't I more emotional about it? But I was dealing with it in a professional way, and when I needed to, I was able to kind of, you know, emotionally talk about whatever it was that was happening, and how it was impacting on me. So I think I really know I have to learn how to talk sometimes, that actually to remember that it's okay to talk about, you know, what's going on and what's happening, just as much as our carers need to talk about it.
I certainly would say as well that the care homes that are not allowing any form of visit, and I've got one at the moment with a customer, no window, no nothing, you know, just can't come. The panic in their voices, because they, you know, and asking me, can I intervene with that care home? Can I persuade them? That's the really hard one for me, because I know that seeing somebody through a window, it's not great. And chances are that person's dementia has developed considerably and actually progressed because they've been in lockdown. It's difficult to have any kind of conversation through a window, but not even being able to do that, and probably not even getting any kind of contact with the care home so that they can tell you how that person is, because their response is always go, oh yeah, they're fine, they had their breakfast, they're fine. Is that the panic that they feel that they're not going to see that person again, and that they are going to die in that care home, and that no one, and I mean no one, that person knows is going to see them before they die. I think that's weighing much more on my mind than any of the other stuff at the moment, because I just can't imagine what that must be like for them. Sorry.
I think as well, are you okay? I think as well the answer, it's awful, isn't it? I think the answer, they're okay, is horrid, because, you know, I hope you don't mind me going personal, my dad's got dementia in a care home, and he can be, oh, I don't know how to describe him. He's a character. And when he's okay, that's when he's not okay, because Dad has a colourful language. He is very opinionated, and he will tell you what he likes and what he dislikes. So if I hear, yeah, he's fine, I think instantly, what's happened? Because he's not normally fine. He's normally, he called a bit of a ruckus down there. He, you know, he's been walking around everywhere trying to tell people off. And I need to know the ins and outs of what he's been up to as a carer and as a family member, to know that he's okay. And I just think it's dismissive of saying, yeah, he's fine. I think, and that will set panic, and as well as the, when am I going to see them again? When am I going to have a good human contact visit? As you said earlier, Martha, the power of human touch is just amazing, and through a window is just awful, because you can't really assess how that person really is, because you've got that pane of glass, and communication's difficult when you're in a room with someone, let alone with the reflection. You can't hear someone, and I think it's awful that they're not even doing window visits. I didn't think that was...
Thinking about how difficult it can be for us, what is the one thing that really helps you get through your day?
I think for me, yesterday, having somebody phone and saying that he got our number from the Alzheimer's Society, and before that they spoke to Age UK, and he just wants somebody to speak to. I'm very upset, and I said, well, you can speak to me. And he said, who are you? I said, we're a wayfinder, you can talk to me. And just to be taken aback by that. And I think that sometimes really you feel like you're actually helping somebody, because they're not, again, passed on. You know, we pick up the phone and they can talk, you know. And I think that's what does make Sage House unique. The fact that we are very customer led, we are, you know, we'll fix problems as far as we can, but we're very, customer focused, and we're on the other end of the line immediately. I
agree. I think that's what gets me through my day, is there's very small differences that I can make to somebody's life just by talking to them. And it's so rewarding.
Funnily enough, yesterday I had a call from a lady in Crawley, which, as you may or may not know, obviously is my hometown. So it was quite interesting, but she'd been told to call me by a family that I support here in Chichester, but were also from Crawley, and they were friends, and her husband's just had a diagnosis of dementia. And the friend who lives in Chichester said, you've got to ring Sage House and speak to Jackie. She'll really be able to help you. So she opens the call with that. So immediately I'm thinking, oh gosh, I can't let anybody down now. Not only is it a recommendation, but this lady's been told I can work miracles. But it was just good. And we were able to actually, what started the conversation was just talking about Crawley, what it was like then, what it's like now. And I knew what her family was like because I'd lived with families like that, and that was really good. And actually, even if we were open, she wouldn't come to Sage House. So that will be telephone support for real, not because of lockdown. And that's going to be a joy for me to help them. Yeah.
I had a really positive call yesterday as well, actually. A gentleman that's supporting his wife, I spoke to a few weeks ago, was having some real, I don't want to say issues. He's quite very similar personality to me, very impatient, and gets quite frustrated quickly with his wife. And I just gave a few tips, sort of fingers crossed, hoping that it was going to work. And I rang him yesterday and I got we've had a wonderful morning. You know, it does take extra time, but wow, I've got that smile back on my wife. And for me, it's those small bits of advice and taking those small changes that make such a difference. And I did have a bit of a cry because I was so happy that they'd got the smile back. And he said, my wife held my hand. And for me, that was just fantastic. And you guys, not trying to be too soppy, but you guys have been amazing. The support I've got this week, I'm going to get emotional. Support I've got this week has been fantastic, and you guys really brighten my work up. Sorry.
It's good. We're here for each other as well as our customers. I think that's the really important thing.